When I met Daniel, he was standing in the rain outside a bookstore, holding a broken umbrella over my head as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You're going to ruin that dress," he said. "It's already ruined." "Then at least let it be ruined romantically." I laughed, and he smiled like he had been waiting for that exact sound. For 12 years, I believe that was how our story began, with rain, books, and a stranger who made the world feel less lonely. We built a life out of small rituals: Sunday pancakes, midnight drives when neither of us could sleep, his hand reaching for mine beneath restaurant tables. Daniel became the person who knew how I took my coffee, how I cried during sad commercials, how I hated thunderstorms but loved watching lightning from a safe distance. We bought a narrow townhouse on Maple Street 3 years into our marriage. Our neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, lived alone next door with a white terrier and a garden that bloomed even in winter. She was warm but observant, the kind of woman who noticed when someone smiled too quickly. Lately, Daniel had been distant for months. He blamed work. His phone stayed face down. He took calls on the porch. When I asked if something was wrong, he kissed my forehead and said, "You worry too much." I wanted to believe him because believing him was easier than imagining a life without him. Then, one Tuesday evening, Mrs. Alvarez knocked on my door. Her face was pale. In her hand was a small black flash drive. "I need you to watch this," she whispered. I looked toward the living room, where Daniel was showering. "Watch it alone," she said. "And don't let him know I gave it to you." For the first time in 12 years, I felt the floor beneath my marriage begin to crack. I waited until Daniel fell asleep. The flash drive sat on my bedside table for hours, silent and accusing. Every instinct told me not to touch it. Whatever was on it could change everything, and some part of me still wanted the comfort of not knowing. At 1:17 a.m., I carried my laptop into the guest room and locked the door. The video began with grainy footage from Mrs. Alvarez's security camera. At first, there was nothing but our front porch, the street lamp, and the familiar outline of Daniel's car. Then Daniel appeared. He was not alone. A woman stepped out of the passenger side. She was younger than me, wearing a red coat and a smile I recognized immediately. It was Claire, my closest friend since college. The footage showed them kissing. Not once. Not uncertainly. Not like a mistake. Like practice. The next clip was from 2 weeks earlier. Daniel carried an overnight bag to Claire's car. Another showed them laughing on our porch while I was visiting my sister. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped the laptop. Then I found the audio file. Mrs. Alvarez had recorded it accidentally while testing her new doorbell camera. Daniel's voice was clear. "She'll never leave," he said. Claire laughed softly. "You don't know that." "Ido. She loves the version of me she thinks is real." Something inside me went quiet. I sat in the dark until dawn, replaying that sentence until it stopped sounding like Daniel's voice and became a stranger's. At 7, he walked into the kitchen, sleepy and smiling. I looked at him across the table and realized grief could be louder than screaming. His smile vanished. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he said the words that ended us before either of us understood it. "It's not what you think." Daniel talked for 3 hours. He called it loneliness. He called it confusion. He called it a mistake that had gone too far. He cried when I stayed silent, then grew angry when I refused to comfort him. He said Claire meant nothing, even though the videos showed months of stolen afternoons and careful lies. The cruelest part was not the affair. It was realizing how much work had gone into hiding it. Every late meeting. Every dead phone battery. Every time he had told me I was imagining things. He had not simply betrayed me. He had trained me to distrust myself. Claire called around noon. I watched her name light up my phone until it stopped. Then she called again. I answered. "Please," she said, already crying. "I never meant for you to find out like this." "Like what?" My voice sounded calm, which frightened me. "Through evidence." She had no answer. That night, Daniel slept on the couch. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around us. Every room held a memory. Our first Christmas tree, the wall we painted yellow because Daniel said it made me look happier, the kitchen where he had proposed with flour on his cheek. By morning, I packed a suitcase. Mrs. Alvarez was outside trimming roses when I walked to my car. She looked guilty, as though she had shattered something precious. "I'm sorry," she said. I wanted to hate her. It would have been easier. Instead, I hugged her and cried into her shoulder. For 2 weeks, I stayed with my sister. Daniel sent messages every day, apologies, promises, photographs of our empty house. Claire sent one final letter, saying she would always regret what happened. But regret did not rebuild trust. "I can become better," he said. I believed he could. So I closed the door. And for the first time, I did not feel abandoned. I felt free. The divorce took 11 months. There were forms, meetings, signatures, and the strange ache of dividing a life into boxes. I kept the books. Daniel kept the townhouse. We sold the dining table where we had eaten thousands of ordinary meals, because neither of us could bear to take it. At first, freedom felt like an empty room. I missed Daniel in ways I hated admitting. I missed his laugh, his terrible singing while cooking, the way he used to warm my cold feet beneath the blankets. Healing was not a clean break. It was learning that love and pain could live in the same memory. Claire moved away. I never saw her again. Mrs. Alvarez continued leaving small baskets of lemons at my sister's door until I found my own apartment. On the day I moved in, she gave me a potted jasmine plant. "It survives more than people expect," she said. A year after the night I watched the video, I stood by my new window during a thunderstorm. Rain slid down the glass in silver lines. Once, storms had terrified me. Now I found them beautiful. Daniel had been right about one thing. I had loved the version of him I believed was real. But I had also loved the version of myself that stayed quiet, forgave quickly, and accepted crumbs because I was afraid of losing everything. That woman was gone. I did not become bitter. I became careful. I learned that trust is not built from promises but from patterns. I learned that being alone is not the same as being lonely. And I learned that truth, even when it arrives like a blade, can cut you free from a life that has already begun to suffocate you. Sometimes I still think about the rain outside that bookstore. But now, when I remember it, I do not mourn the marriage that ended. And I am proud of her.